Hello, my name is Waylon Lewis, and every week we'll bring you a new podcast with Elephant Journal. Hey friends, this is Waylon, and I'm here with my friend Aaron Michael of Earth Love Gardens. And we're today going to talk about how we're kind of being awful to our planet in terms of our yards, and we don't have to be. Like, we could actually help save our planet,
Yes.
or heal our planet through our yards.
Yes.
So to me, this is a super fun conversation. I'm really honored, excited to do this with
Yes.
you, as is Winnie, clearly. So let's just jump right into it, and then we can kind of backtrack and talk about how you got into this and some personal story.
Sounds good.
But without further ado, like, what's maybe your top way that to be nice to your yard or to not be mean to your yard, like something to stop doing or to start doing
Yes.
that most of us don't know about?
Yeah. So if you have a yard landscape, the best thing you can do is be as environmentally friendly as possible to it. Many people know, but if you don't already know, having non-native turf grass, your regular grass, takes a lot of water. And many people apply a lot of pesticides. So,
Right. And why is a lot of water bad? Because I think that argument gets used for people who want to put on plastic turf, which is however you're saying, PFAS,
yeah,
PFAS or something,
yeah,
which is like the forever toxic chemicals.
right.
So why is using a lot of water bad?
Yeah, so yards typically, it's a crazy number of like tens of thousands of gallons a year that an average landscape, grass landscape uses.
Yeah.
So in a world where we're getting less water, it's important to conserve as much as you can. It also saves you money.
Right. And like, I think 10, 12 years ago, we covered some documentary. I interviewed some gentleman who made a documentary about the Colorado River, which for the first time in 16 million years, I think was the number, some crazy number like that, wasn't running to the ocean because we're drawing so much water out of it.
Yeah.
Hope you don't mind the dog.
I
He makes
don't.
for good viewing.
Yes.
For
It's
those
very
bored by
interesting.
us visually, he's keeping it interesting. So, using less water, but at the same time using less toxic chemicals.
Oh yeah. Artificial turf is, terrible. If you want to be environmentally friendly.
Right.
Yes, it uses less water, but these are petroleum-based products that you're putting on the soil and essentially killing the soil when we want to be doing things that are benefiting the earth as much as possible.
And that's a radical thing you're saying right now, because right now at schools nationwide, it's like a trend to take out the turf and put in this huge plastic, like, you're just suffocating the land.
Yeah.
And then it falls apart and you have to replace it. And I'm
Right.
like, in manufacture and transportation of that, must be using a lot of water.
Oh yeah.
And then, as you said, it's petroleum, it's toxic
Right.
chemicals.
And
it's,
dogs pee on it, and it smells.
Right, that's not great. So, and then, there's this huge power to, even the worst lawn will put some moisture into the air and cool things.
Yeah.
But if you're a family in your yard, you want an area of perfect grass for your kids to play on.
Of course.
Are there better alternatives?
Yeah. It would be best to conserve the amount of grass that you absolutely need.
Yeah.
Because,
Smaller area.
Right, yeah. And then where you can, remove the grass. And one great thing to do, or two great things to do, would be to plant pollinator-friendly plants with native plants, to your area.
And pollinators are what? They're bees,
Yeah.
other stuff though.
Yeah, pollinators are insects and other species, like hummingbirds, that pollinate flowers. And this is an important part of our ecosystem. And we want to do what we can to support the habitat for these beneficial species.
And there's kind of like two audiences. One audience, this is really obvious and inspiring. Another audience, you're like, why do we need insects? I mean, frankly, So can you remind us, like, why do we want butterflies and also the less charismatic insects and bees and, all that? Birds.
Different studies showed that double-digit decline in populations of bird and insect.
You're being
species.
polite. It's like
it's like
in your article, I think 70%.
one study shows like 70-something% decline in like the past like 30 or 50 years
For insects.
for certain species of insects.
Yeah, and it's like 50% or something in the last 50 years
Yeah,
for birds.
like-
I mean, it's
Right,
startling.
exactly. Yeah, and why do we want them? Because we don't know what a world looks like without them.
Yeah.
And they're all, important parts of the ecosystem that
Right.
if you remove it,
Yeah.
who knows how, it could all collapse.
It's a little bit like saying, why do we need these different parts in my car?
Right.
It's like you take out enough parts.
Right.
Maybe you can get away with one or two for a little while,
Yeah.
but it's going to start not working. And our
Exactly.
ecosystem, our world, needs everything to work together. Like,
Yeah.
I grew up in Boulder. We had no rabbits in Boulder growing up. Not until like 10 years ago. And then suddenly there were like tons of them. As you know, there's bunnies all over
Yeah.
Boulder. And I don't, maybe you know more about it, but someone said, well, it's because we're killing all the coyotes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's true, but when the ecosystem gets out of whack,
Right.
weird things start happening.
Exactly.
Often not cute, like bunnies are cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my old friend Laura Ruby, who has been on the show, permaculture professor, she moved away years ago because she was like, Boulder's getting way too dry.
Yeah.
She bought a big farm outside of Asheville before it was cool.
Yeah.
So it was actually affordable at the time. She was smart.
Mm-hmm.
She taught me about, like, anytime I plant a tree, to think about one or two things, which I know you know about. So what should we think about with trees?
Yeah. I'm in the camp of planting native trees when possible, because that it supports habitat for the ecosystem, as well as, like, here in Colorado, it uses less water than non-native tree species.
Right. So native, the virtue is it's developed over centuries and millennia
Right.
to be appropriate to the water it might get in this, in Colorado
Yeah.
where we're at or wherever people are at.
Right.
And if it's not native, climate appropriate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like some plants, like from Arizona, especially as the climate shifts and it gets drier and hotter.
Yeah.
We can bring those up because the insect populations, other species, are also going to adapt.
Yeah.
And there are some really pretty plants that we can find south of here as well.
It's crazy. Like in I'm vegan, but like lobster fishing is all moving north. Maple syrup, which I do love, is all moving north. Like things are shifting quickly.
Yeah.
It's a little scary.
Yeah.
Like Colorado might become, instead of 4 seasons, more like you're saying, more like Arizona.
Right. Yeah. So we want to do what we can to bring it back and to look forward into benefiting the planet as well as ourselves.
Right.
Which we're part of the planet.
Sort of the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're part of the ecosystem, whether we think about it or not. It's easy to forget that we are, though, when we like have a TV and we have our video games and we're driving around in our bubble and I always laugh because I bike everywhere and I'm wearing like 4 layers and a hat. It's snowing, and then I go meet someone for lunch or coffee and they like walk in like a light hoodie that's open and shorts or sweatpants. And they're like, why are you wearing so much stuff? They always say that. They're like, haha, look at you. And you're like, well, it's cold outside.
Yeah.
But you forget that. We divorce ourselves from our world often.
Yeah.
So maybe on a sort of spiritual level, since I was haranguing about that, how do you, maybe this goes back to how you got involved in what you do, but how do you try to reconnect with our world and in a healthy, loving way? You talked some about that in your article.
Yeah. If you look at the article.
On
the
we'll link
Elephant
to
Journal.
it and all that.
Awesome. I started my company Earthblow Gardens in 2018, and it was like love at first sight. Like, I'm from Florida, and being from Florida, it was so hot and humid, so I really didn't enjoy being outside. And when I moved to Colorado, I fell in love with being outside here. And I learned of the importance and just of connecting with the earth and working with the earth, and how much the earth can support us when we support the earth. And it just was like, it was a passion and a calling that I've been listening to ever since. And it truly is amazing to reconnect to the earth, which, in being disconnected with the earth, I feel is like the background of so many of society's issues. That if we can find that reconnection again with earth, within ourselves and with each other, that's what society may be missing. And it just makes things, have that essence that life, I feel, is all about.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So, for people who aren't you're incredibly skilled and knowledgeable. What's a way that I or anyone can reconnect with our earth, maybe through our yard or through our composting or something that we can actually do where you get that kind of spiritual reconnection?
Yeah. I mean, even if you don't have a yard, things like as simple as like grounding, earthing, taking off your shoes, putting your bare feet on the ground, and reconnecting with that, because we evolved as humans for millennia, barefoot on the earth. And it wasn't until the 21st century that people had shoes that, cut them off from, the ground. And if and whether or not you have a yard, do these things, work outside in the garden. And that can include with pollinators and edible gardens, work with the soil. A CU researcher found that working with soil releases serotonin, that makes you happy. So it's part of our biology to be working with the earth.
Yeah.
And to not is not conducive to our health.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a yard, something as simple as like a window box, with some plants, I have a window box in my room, and with a blanket flower, which is a native Colorado plant, one of my favorites. And, it's like a pollinator magnet. It was visited by a hummingbird and bumblebees. It's just one flower.
How cool.
It's really sweet.
So you have it open, like when it's warm, and they will come in?
Well,
Is that what you mean?
It was outside.
Oh, outside window box. Got it.
But up to the window.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
And then is there some way you keep you put something on the glass so the birds don't just fly into it?
That's recommended. Yeah. Like a transparent, reflective, plastic, decal helps with bird strikes.
Yeah. I have crystals and like little stained glass stuff all over all my windows, and I even put string outside because sometimes they don't see through the reflection to the thing.
Yeah.
So that's a nice thing to do. I moved my I feed birds, when it's cold, and I moved my bird feeders farther away from the windows.
Yeah.
So they're like, I have a hot tub, so they're by the hot tub instead of the windows, because once every couple months one would still fly into the window, and it's heartbreaking.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a positive or a negative way of saying a positive thing, which is when you get involved with nature and our yards and earth, you start caring.
Right.
So a lot of my friends are sort of nihilistic about the world. They're like, climate change, everything's going to go to hell, the earth will be fine.
Yeah.
I'm always like, the earth won't be fine. Like, millions and millions and billions of beings are dying and suffering because of climate change. And, we can care about them.
Yes.
Not just us.
Exactly. And when we care about them, we care about us.
Yeah, that's well said. So what about composting? Because I think that's really easy to do a sort of mediocre job of it. Mm-hmm. But do you have any tips around that?
Yeah. Compost as much as possible. And that includes, we were talking about leaves, because leaves add carbon to the compost. So you want a good balance of carbon to organic compost, like your food scraps. And
and you don't put meat and dairy stuff in compost.
No bones.
And now tea bags are a big thing. You can't put in compost like 85% of the time. Most tea bags are now nylon. But many are still, so you have to check.
Yes.
Many are still paper or whatever.
Yes, and if you have your own garden, especially if you have like edible garden, in the spring you could top dress your garden bed with your compost so that you always have the darkest, richest soil in a closed loop system of growing, using your food, composting.
That's great.
Yeah.
Closed loop, for those who don't know, means like you have your coffee and your apple and your whatever, and then you mix it, you compost it. And basically with composting, you're layering, right? Do you want to say a little about that?
Well, that's with sheet mulching.
Oh, okay.
So if you are wanting to kill your grass, or want to, if you have like a really like not, very vital part of your yard, it's just like, not great soil, sheet mulching is a great way to kill your grass and to improve the quality of your soil.
I meant just like layering when in your compost bin or something. But you can compost. A lot of people in apartments or whatever using a composter, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's multiple ways to compost.
So what ways would you recommend for composting?
Yeah.
At home, in an apartment?
I
Backyard.
as simple as having a composting bin, which
Okay.
you turn over.
Yeah.
And I know it's made of plastic,
Yeah.
but a lot of times you can find them used when people move.
Right.
Those bins
Marketplace or Craigslist or
Yeah.
yard sale. Yeah.
the ones that turn. I've heard
Yeah.
good things about those because
Yeah.
it makes the job a lot easier.
And they're black, so it gets hot.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then what else? Oh, and then the closed loop. So then you compost, you put it on your plants and your flowers in
Yeah.
your garden, and then you get to eat more stuff, or the birds do, or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Closed loop systems, and we mentioned permaculture a bit. We want to do things that, just make intelligent sense and benefit in abundance the soil, our earth, our lives, things that just make sense and don't, take outside resources, which we don't know, can be exploitive of the earth,
Yeah.
as well as we don't want to waste.
One of my pet peeves is, and my mom, who's wonderful with the earth and gardening, does this. Like it feels like it's very normalized. It drives me insane. Is people they go to their grocery store or hardware store, driving, and then buy earth, often organic, in plastic bags
Yeah.
that have been shipped all over the country.
Right.
What's an alternative to that? Instead of just being judgy or whatever, what's a happy alternative to, if you need good earth? Obviously composting, you can
Right.
create your own.
Exactly.
What else?
Yeah, or you could support a local landscaping yard.
There we go.
Yeah, which
Nice.
they can either deliver it, or what I do sometimes when I need to is I have sandbags that I'll go up to the huge pile of soil and put what I need in the sandbags, and they're pennies on the dollar what they charge because they're making money off of large bulk amounts.
Right.
But and it's a lot less expensive.
So
than
it's
when you
way
buy it.
cheaper. You're
Yeah.
not going through single-use plastic bags, and you're not shipping it all. Shipping earth. I
Right.
mean, it's so heavy all over the U.S. and heavy matters in terms of, again, burning gas and polluting.
Right.
And ultimately, what a lot of people want is that good organic earth. So it's kind of a painful hypocrisy to me
Yeah.
that we're kind of like, I'm getting my little bit of earth, but I'm polluting on every end of it. It's the opposite of closed loop.
Right. Yeah.
What are some other problems or issues, like maybe gas-powered leaf blowers or something? What's an alternative to that?
Yeah. Gas-powered leaf blowers, surprisingly, they put out a lot of pollution into the air.
Yeah. To the point where is that like actively bad for your children?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So using an electric leaf blower is at least one good alternative. Or then it's about raking your leaves, because in raking my leaves with a really large rake versus using a leaf blower, I'm like, throw away the leaf blower because the rake is actually more efficient. I'm like, why are we trying to complicate this?
Yeah, it feels like we're always trying to invent our way out of, like, even things that are working.
Yeah.
And electric-powered leaf blowers, there's rebates for those often.
Yeah.
So those can be super affordable for people who aren't convinced about rakes.
Right.
And then what's the ideal? Because I know there's a
Yeah.
trend we talked about.
Right. Yes. Nature doesn't rake its leaves.
Right.
So the most basic thing you could do is let your leaves be in your yard.
Yeah.
Of course, this could be detrimental to your grass. So what you could do is rake them away from your grass and put them in piles, like in the mulched areas
that's cool.
around your garden, in the
Yeah.
perimeter. And this creates a natural mulch, as well as insects. They like to nest under these
Yeah.
leaves. So you are letting these insects also give them this winter habitat to live, so they can they can be birthed in the spring.
Yeah, that's really helpful tip, because I leave my leaves, but I often feel a little bit mixed about it because it does suffocate some of the area where Winfield or my puppy will play.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I actually think I'm like tromping all over a lot of it, and I know the insects like to nest there.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, am I killing them? So if you put them in piles, the sooner the better, I would anticipate. So you're not moving all the little whatever, their nests.
Yeah.
So bees and all kinds of things will just like camp out
Yeah.
or give birth to their young underneath the leaves.
Yes.
Yeah.
As well as the stems to your plants too.
Oh.
So what you want to do is avoid doing like a fall cleanup of your yard by cutting down to the ground your dormant plants for the season, because insects they also.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, they also.
So in the grass stems and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
So leave some,
Yeah.
or leave all of it.
If you can,
Yeah,
and then they say about when the average temperature is about 50 degrees or above, closer to the springtime, then you can do your cleanup so that you start fresh in the spring.
Thanks for listening. Hope you're getting a lot out of it. The full conversation is on our indie platform that supports and continues our work, elephantjournal.com/videos. You can subscribe, listen, watch, and participate there. And when you do so, you'll keep these mindful videos and podcasts going. elephantjournal.com/videos. May it be of benefit.